Right, hello everyone. Welcome to the Redmen TV. I am joined by United Stands, Man United fan and internet sensation, Mr. Mark Goldbridge, to talk about Liverpool-Manchester United Part 2, as it were. The FA Cup looms at the weekend, and you had a good chat with Chris last week building up to it. How's your mood since then? Because I think we kind of came out of it. I mean, the media were trying to spin it as a missed opportunity for Manchester United, which I can understand why they might come at it that way. But my overriding sense so far is that, look, Man United feel like they're riding the crest of a wave, and a draw against Liverpool actually does look like a pretty good point right now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's nice to have that chat with Chris and then you this week, Paul, because I think that you never get that chat after the match. And obviously the FA Cup's important between United and Liverpool, but I think we're both. It's nice that we're focused on the league, but obviously you will be. And I think that, I sort of fought against it. Our fan base was like, we should have won that game. We had the two best chances, which we did. But I sort of had to watch Match of the Day on the evening. And I was like, yeah, it was how I remembered. For 70 minutes, Liverpool didn't really do enough in the final third, but were definitely shading it. And then in the last 20 minutes, I think our fitness came through. So I would never have took a point before the game because I think that's defeatist and it's United Liverpool. But I was really happy with the point. And I said the main thing is that you follow it up with a win against Fulham, which we just about did. So yeah, I think any team that goes to Anfield and I think you'd scored 42 games in a row and you didn't score. So I'm happy with it. And United fans, I like the optimism, but I think realistically that was a good point.
Yeah, and it's mad, isn't it? Because I think people just, it's the internet, isn't it? You know this as well as I do, is that people just love to be miserable. I did something with Rio Ferdinand on the Monday, and I've seen you reacting to stuff on Twitter since. Where's this narrative about this? It baffles me that there's even a slightly negative narrative around Bruno Fernandes, as though, he's clearly been, okay. People will debate this because everyone loves to debate this kind of statement, but to say he's not been in the clutch of the best players in the Premier League in the last calendar year is just being churlish. He's been fantastic. So what is this all about?
It's a weird one because if you had to go at Bruno now, I'd go, he's a Liverpool fan. That's his job to do that, But what I do like is the fact that you've said he's a good player, and I've always said that about some Liverpool players. I think Andy Robertson's brilliant. Do I like the fact that he wears a Liverpool shirt? No. The weirdest thing for me is that there's United fans, and we've got this thing, and I don't know whether you've got it at Liverpool, and hopefully you haven't, but we've got this thing in our fan base where when Bruno was doing well and Pogba wasn't doing well, there's sort of like this Pogba FC, we call it, within our fan base, and it's sort of like now Pogba scored a goal and Bruno, I watched the game against Fulham, what a goal by Pogba, but I think Pogba and Bruno play best together. They got us third place. But Bruno played really well against Fulham. But everyone's like, he was crap. He was crap. Pogba's the best and Bruno's crap. It's like, if he doesn't score a goal or get an assist, he's had a bad game. Now, Liverpool's a very difficult game to play. And we played a little bit deep. But I don't get it. I think Bruno Fernandes is the reason we are where we are. Over the calendar year, I think we've probably got the same or more points than you, which doesn't matter because it's over a season, but he is the thing over the calendar year that has been the difference. And I think Chris said it last week, almost a bit like a Cantona, not as good as Cantona, obviously, in relation to we're not winning titles, but he has changed everything. And I don't get the criticism outside the club, but I understand it. But within the club, it's weird, really weird.
Number 10s, I think, are like that. I think people have this idealized version of what number 10s are and what they do, and number 10s they blow hot and cold because they have to, because unfortunately it's a role where you're not tearing around the pitch and getting stuck into things. Your job is to receive the ball and move it on a lot of the time, and they're punctuated by the occasional screamer or a world-class assist. They're the highlights, they're the match of the day moments. So if you watch them all the time, we used to have this in. I think Bruno Fernandes is a better player, but Luis Garcia was like this for Liverpool back in the mid-noughties. There were a bunch of fellas who were staunchly and they'd have things like, oh, he's got all the keys. That's what I keep getting told. But he seems like he's lost his set of keys this time. Blah 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 blah. People do just seem to have trouble with that. But I think it's an interesting conversation about that. It's almost like cult of personality that exists around some footballers, and Pogba's a prime example of that. I think there's people who think he's crap, and he's not. He's actually dead good at football. And there's people who think he's the greatest footballer to walk the earth, who were equally as wrong. I thought he was good, actually, at Anfield last week, without being like this, without having anything to show for it. I thought he was a good player. But you find that, don't you, where footballers are almost bigger than football clubs, some of them. And you're right, that Pogba FC, Liverpool have kind of got this with Salah and a little bit with Mane as well, where the footballers who transcend the football club, they take fans to football clubs. What have you made of Pogba? Because it does seem like there's been a bit. I don't want to over-egg this, but not like he's been reborn or anything. But it looks like he's actually settled in the United side, which is probably a pretty decent thing.
He's probably the happiest he's been in 4 years, and you can't forget the last 4 years have been really inconsistent. He's had major highs, and then he's had major average games, but seems to be, since this what was shocking interview that his agent did, which you've got to understand has come via Pogba. I won't sign a new contract. I'm not being used properly. I was one of those people who said sell him in January, don't play him, and I think most United fans were. But there's still people now saying, "Oh, you said sell him, and look how good he is," and it's like, yeah, he shit all over the club, really. That's sort of what you need to say as a fan. But yeah. I think the way United have handled it is brilliantly. I think for Pogba, he's in a good position. He might get a massive contract in the summer, or he's going to put himself in a shop window. From United's point of view, he might go and we'll replace him in the summer, but if he plays well till May. So I think it's probably the happiest he's been. And I think the fan base is pretty happy. It's a professional relationship. And we solve it in the summer one way or the other. So
it reminds me a bit, and not a strictly like for like comparison, but that awful season Eden Hazard had just before the Euros, was it, where he was garbage until like someone went to him, actually you could do with putting a bit of form on now, and it's like someone's gone to Pogba, well, you're not leaving in January, so what do you want to do? Do you want to end up at like a second tier European club or third tier European club, or have a good final 6 months at the club or half a season at the club, and then maybe go wherever you want? And that does make perfect sense.
There's not a lot of money in the COVID world, is there? That's the thing. There's not a lot of money. So if you want Real Madrid to buy you, you've got to play well.
No, 100% agree on that. Right. Just looking ahead to the FA Cup then, as your the value of the FA Cup, has it changed any for you in the in the recent weeks, and has the result last week altered your thinking on this at all?
I think it's really difficult. I mean, I got a lot of pelters from some of our fans because when the draw came out, I was like, don't really care. Liverpool reserves against United reserves. I'm more interested in the league game. And then you get it's Liverpool. He's clearly not a United fan because it's Liverpool. And I'm like, what I was really saying is it's all about the league game. And I'll really look forward to the FA Cup game, and I won't want us to lose it. But if you say to me, you lose to Liverpool, but you beat Sheffield United and Arsenal in the league after that, I'm probably going to take them 6 points. But it's Liverpool. We will rotate. I'm sure you will rotate. So it's like, and it's not the semi-final or the final, is it? So, and we get knocked out in the semi-final mostly. So it's just like, I want to win it because it's Liverpool, but I don't think if we lost or you lose, it really is catastrophic for our season. But I still, it's the tie of the weekend, and I'm not a massive fan of the FA Cup. No, Paul, I don't know about you.
Yeah, and I like it. I mean, I like it in a nostalgic sense. The first trophy. Well, no, that's not true. Actually, the first trophy I saw was the league. But I remember going to the first final I went to was the FA Cup final in '92 as a kid, and so it carries that bit of thing with it. But you're right. It's the third most important competition that a top side is in this country. I just want to know, actually, how do you think they will approach it? Because I agree. I think both sides will rotate because the league has to take precedence. But how far do you think they will rotate, and what are they done in the FA Cup and in the League Cup in these kind of situations so far? Yeah,
I think Ollie himself said after the Fulham game that the Cup would be nice, essentially, but it's the league form that you are judged upon, because in the Cup you can get a hard draw or you can get an easy draw and go all the way to the final, whereas in the league it's always the same, which is a change, and it's a very interesting change right ahead of this game, because my interpretation of Solskjaer is that every game's important. Let's try and win every game. I think he's now probably saying, look, I might put a weakened team out or a rotated team out, and the league is the priority, which, to be honest, he's right. But we have got a very big squad. So I would expect Van der Beek to play. Greenwood probably plays. We've got a lot of midfield choices. people like Tellez, who I think is brilliant, isn't getting a game. So yeah, we should be able to put a good team out. And I think in many ways, if Liverpool make a few changes as well, it will still be a really tasty game.
Yeah. That's my strong suspicion. Is I think we'll see teams that will be quite rotated, but on paper you'd still look at them and go, he's a £30 million player, he's a £40 million player. There's still going to be a lot of talent. It's just that what you might end up with is a team performance from both sides that's a little more disjointed. What I felt like with the league game was Liverpool going about their game plan and Man United doing the best to nullify it, and United going about their game plan and Liverpool nullifying it quite well. I wonder whether this ends up being a little bit more scrappy and a bit more wild, and probably not to either manager's taste, to be honest. But is there anyone you think, who you'd say is nailed on of the regular players? Like, so Rashford, for example. Does he go Rashford again in this one?
I think you're right. I think that in relation to Klopp and Ollie, they're probably not going to learn much from this game in relation to where they go from there. So you're more reliant on individuals and people taking the opportunity that haven't got it. I'll be surprised if Rashford starts, but again, I would probably lean towards he will, because I think Ollie's got this tendency to chuck players in that he trusts because he probably will want to win it. But Rashford, to me, for a year, he blows hot and cold, and I think he's carrying an injury. I think that back injury has been more cumbersome than people think. I doubt Cavani would start because we need to be careful with him. I wouldn't expect Bruno to start, but then he probably will start Bruno because it's Bruno and he wants to play every game. So it's really hard to predict, but I guarantee we'll pick 5 or 6 first teamers.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a very interesting one. Again, with being that we have no idea literally what the team is likely to be for this one, let's just throw our balls on the line and go for a score prediction, because why not? What do you think? At the very least, do you think United should be able to get through this one?
I'd like to see some goals. I think that was the big shame. I'd much rather see a 3-3 than a 0-0. I think anybody would rather that. So I hope we get some goals in this. Because it's at Old Trafford, and I think that Liverpool, if they're going to make changes, obviously you've had a bit of issues with injuries and that. I think hopefully there'll be goals. So I'll go 3-2 United, yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Very interesting indeed. Okay, brilliant. Well, listen, Mark, thank you so much for taking the time for joining us. Don't forget, everyone watching at home, you can go and subscribe, of course, to the United Stand, the channel. I must admit, a guilty pleasure is your best bits video. That's been keeping me going. So I thank you heartily for that stuff in the last couple of weeks. But no, thank you so much for joining us, and of course, and I'm sure you'll wish me the same in reverse. All the worst luck for the weekend.
So is the way. Thanks for having me on. Really enjoyed it, Paul. Thank you very much.